Hello, I'm Tammy Fontana with All in the Family Counseling Center Private Limited. I have been providing therapy to Southeast Asia and Singapore for just under 2 decades. I'm a clinically trained mental health therapist trained in the U.S. with extensive training with some of the leading therapists around the world, as well as a clinically trained sex therapist. Today I'm talking about what is the number one thing that undermines and affects relationships. And that is leverage, not understanding how you are giving somebody leverage or another person is exploiting what they perceive as leverage they have over you. And leverage is something that is a part of a very toxic form of relationship. So leverage is, a lot of people say, I have no choice, or I can't leave this relationship, I will be alone. Or I financially can't support myself, or I have no way to change them, and so I can't leave. What am I supposed to do? These are all examples of leverage in which the person is unaware that they are giving leverage to another person. And so leverage is something that I haven't learned how to take care of myself, some emotional, psychological, or financial need. And therefore that creates a vulnerability in me that I perceive the other person could exploit to my detriment, or they are actually exploiting it. And leverage is really harmful in a number of ways, because in healthy relationships, we don't consciously exploit leverage. And it's a form of, in extreme cases, it can lead to emotional or physical abuse. But most of the time what happens is, in most couples that I'm dealing with, there is some sort of leverage that actually undermines intimacy, proper communication around conflict or differences, and boundary setting, because one or both of the people have unresolved issues about their ability to take care of themselves. And so what is an example? Something that can really undermine a relationship, their communication, is if I perceive that I cannot be alone, either because I emotionally am too afraid to be alone, to be single, or I just feel as though I cannot take care of myself and I really, really need this relationship, even though it's really crappy. Maybe even people are telling me I could do better. Maybe even people are saying, I get a lot of feedback that, I don't need this. But emotionally and psychologically, I believe I cannot live without this person. And it has often nothing to do with the reality. I might be financially independent. I may be have lots of friends, be an attractive person, but psychologically, emotionally, I don't believe I can survive if my partner leaves me. And this fear is where I, unbeknownst to me, am giving leverage to my partner. And because I perceive this as leverage, it affects how I set boundaries, how I confront my partner, maybe address things that I don't like. It may result in me accepting a lot of things that I don't want to accept. It may result in me hiring, because ultimately I am so afraid that if I say something or speak up, I'll lose the relationship, and that's leverage. The other person may or may not know about this, and they may or may not exploit it. Leverage is always something I give. In healthy relationships, to really be in a healthy relationship, you really have to be willing to always lose the relationship in some sense, not behave in a careless or reckless manner, but in other words, be able to confront or deal with conflicts, to deal with things that are not being addressed, things that make you unhappy, things that you don't like, basically dealing with the differences between you and your individual. The minute you perceive a fear of losing the relationship for bringing it up, this is automatically leverage. It brings in toxicity to the relationship, and it creates all sorts of conflict and volatility and drama. Other times are where another person is trying to create leverage, and this often is much worse, because what people do when they're trying to create leverage is they create leverage through trying to create emotional leverage, through making you feel guilty, through making you feel as though you're neglecting their needs, that you're insensitive, that you're selfish. They will often do this. This gets into quite severe pathology, in which a person is constantly trying to create leverage by making you feel bad, or if you don't do what they want, they stonewall you, they don't talk to you, they ignore you. These are all forms of where another person is trying to create leverage. And so the two parts go together, because so both parts have an unhealthy component, because if you have one person who's trying to create leverage where every time you don't do what I like, I stop talking to you, I blame you, I make you feel guilty, I'm trying to create this leverage and saying, you owe me, you have to make it up to me. If you don't, I threaten to leave you. I'm always threatening to end the relationship. Either I say it directly or I imply it, or it's this veiled constant threat. The other person probably has vulnerabilities as well, because these two people go together. A healthy person would say, okay, then I'm done, and they would leave. So there's a dynamic going on, but the leverage is the underlying issue, and it creates communication problems. It's a function of people not knowing how to set boundaries and just basically missing a lot of healthy relationship skills. All of this can be addressed in therapy and learned when you have people who want to grow and learn. This is an area that I work a lot with, and it's very healing and can result in much better outcome for the couple, their children, and their overall health. If this sounds like something you would like to learn about or have an intake on, you can do it individually or as a couple. You can contact me. The details are in the WhatsApp or in the YouTube below. Thanks.